Hello there folks, welcome back to the Chap's Guide. My name is Ash and I am your host on this journey through men's style, self-development and personal grooming. Now today I aim to answer an age-old question. Does dressing well improve the quality of your life, or is it just a load of BS which is spun by people who are trying to sell you something or change your mindset? Because when it comes to the subject of being an intentionally well-dressed man, over the years we've been fed this story that if you dress well with purpose and intention, it will improve the quality of your life. It will enhance various elements of the way that you lead your life. And I've heard this through many sources. You read it through the written word. You will particularly hear it spun by YouTubers here on this very platform in which you find me today talking about the same thing. But are the claims true? Is it reality that if you do make an effort, spend a bit more money, spend a bit more time getting dressed well, is it really going to make any difference to your life? Well, I aim in my own little way to give you my perspective on that answer today, because over the last couple of weeks I have been carrying out a little bit of field research myself, as well as sort of looking at literary works which will also underpin many of the sort of journey that we go on thinking about the way that we dress. I've been carrying out my own observations of the situations which I face in life, and I think I'm in a position to tell you certainly the areas where this myth, does clothing make your life better or not? Well, I think I can answer certainly in a few different elements. Now, one of the areas in which we're always told that dressing well will boost our quality of life is in the field of building our self-confidence and our self-esteem. We are told over and over again, you dress well, it turns up your own self-esteem several clicks on your self-confidence volume level. And is it true? Well, over the last week, in fact, just gone, I have been out doing my sort of day job, which is providing professional enrichment lectures and well-being training around the region in which I live to a mixed variety of audiences. Now, 3 of the audiences which I addressed this week were actually made up of successful businessmen. And I knew before attending that these were the sort of chaps who would favour dressing rather well. Sports jacket, suit, collar and tie. You can guarantee these are the fellas who are going to be looking their best for their meetings, for which they have employed me to act as an after-dinner speaker. So, of course, I dressed accordingly. I put on a nice suit, a collar and tie. I looked my best. Shiny shoes, cufflinks, the full Monty. And one of the things which this did for me straight away is, well, for a start, it demonstrated to my hosts that I take them seriously, right? I respect the fact that you've invited me. Yes, you're paying for me to be there, but all the same, I respect the level of your meeting. I have dressed accordingly within the keeping of the dress code of the group which I'm going to speak to. But also, there is an element of enclothed cognition here which works on both parties in the undertaking. For me, I am dressing well. I know that when I go into that room, they're going to look at me and see a chap who's well put together, right? They know I'm respecting them. I look like I'm a sort of successful person myself because I've dressed in the way which successful people tend to delineate themselves from the variety of the population. So they're looking at me. It makes me feel a little more confident in the fact that I fit in with this group, and it's turning up my self-esteem, my self-confidence for what I need to do. Also, from the angle from the people who are hosting me, they are now looking at me and they are absolutely more inclined to listen to what I say with interest because they know I am like them. I fit in. I am dressed in the same way as them with intention and purpose. So basically the enclosed cognition part, it goes 2 ways. One, it turns up my self-confidence because I know I'm dressed correctly for the situation. and it's going to have an impact on my hosts. And from my host point of view, they're looking at me thinking, here's a guy who's serious, he looks the part, let's listen to what he's got to say. So from both of those angles, it improves my confidence and self-esteem. So yes, with regards to dressing well, boosting your confidence and self-esteem, a big tick for that. It definitely does in situations when I decide to dress up, because I know it is the right clothing to deploy for that situation. Now, another area in which I think dressing well does improve one's quality of life is definitely, it does improve your discipline and your routine as you go through life. Because one thing I've noticed, all right, when it comes to owning nice clothing, you have to commit to a certain level of discipline and an undertaking of looking after your kit. Because, you know, if you have nice quality shoes, you'll have invested a fair bit of money in them, hundreds of pounds. You want them to last as long as possible. And for that to happen, you've got to look after them. You've got to, you know, at least put a bit of shoe conditioner on there, a bit of polish now and again, so that not only do they look their best, but they last a very long time. Nice clothing, all right? You have to have, you know, if you own sports jackets, suits, you got to send them to the dry cleaners with some element of regularity, which means, you know, keeping on top of when it needs to be cleaned, when it's going to look its best. A nice shirt, pair of trousers, you've got to iron them. You've got to master a skill which is largely lost in the modern society of sweatpants and dry robe wearing people in the world today. These things are a discipline within themselves. And then it's the little accessories, you know, keeping track of your cufflinks, your ties, maybe storing them in an orderly fashion. And all of these elements of being an intentionally well-dressed person adds to your overall package of being, you know, just a better version of yourself because you've decided to dress well. Not to mention things like the grooming. You know, if you dress well, dare I suggest it, you're more likely to shave with regularity, to have haircuts, to use cologne. These are all boosting you. And not only that, but the actual act of looking after your kit, it's not a hardship. It can be pleasurable. I mean, I know of few things more enjoyable in my life than sitting down to polish and clean several pairs of my shoes or boots. You know, I do it on a Sunday morning. I will sit there, I will turn on and listen to a few podcasts, maybe listen to the radio, or maybe I will just luxuriate in the blissful silence of doing an easily repetitive task. And it's very, very cathartic. It's mindful. It's mindfulness at its most basic level. Just doing something simple to get it done. And, you know, maintaining the kit, it fosters discipline in other elements of your life as well. You will probably not be surprised to learn that I do pretty much all of the ironing in my family because I enjoy ironing and I've turned it into a pleasure, not a chore. I do my son's school shirts. I'll do any other ironing which is necessary for the family as well. So yes, with regards to that point of view, dressing well has improved my discipline and it has definitely given me routines in my life which are positive for my well-being, both physical and mental. Now, another thing we're often told is that dressing well improves your social interactions as you go through life. And I think I agree with that because I know when I do dress well, because I don't always, you know, I often spend a lot of time outdoors, but when I put a shirt and tie on and a jacket, that's the big difference really. When I'm dressed like that and I go out into the world and I am speaking to the groups I often work with, sometimes they're professional people, sometimes it's just social gatherings, maybe I'm just visiting a nice hotel in London. I can absolutely guarantee that when I'm wearing a collar, a tie and a jacket, maybe some nice shoes as well, people are more inclined to be nice to me. They will hold doors open to me. They will suddenly find manners in regards to the way that they speak to you, calling you sir and things like that, which they don't have for people who haven't made an effort in the way that they dress. Now, maybe it's just the odd throwaway comment. You know, they'll say, "Aren't you looking smart today, sir?" Or they might just even talk about the weather. but I think it is true. People are more inclined to talk to people and feel happy in the company of people who are well dressed. And I think it's some sort of inherent trust which people have when they see somebody well dressed. There's this sense it's somebody who's trustworthy. Maybe they're a professional, maybe they're a successful person, or they're in a position of responsibility because they are wearing nice clothing. And I think this carries across. It's the psychological underpinnings of the human mind. And I have to say, even though many will say it's very outdated now, but this book called Dress for Success by John T. Malloy, an American author, written in the 1980s, is kind of a psychological deep dive into the way that clothing makes an impact on the way that we interact with people. And he carried out one experiment in here in which he paid an actor for 2 days of work. On day one, he sent him along to a bus station, dressed in pretty casual clothes, and he asked that young man to go up to people, tell them that he had lost his wallet, and ask them if they could perhaps donate a small amount of money for him to get his bus fare home. On the first day, very casual. On the second day, same guy, same time of day, same situation, but he dressed him up well, wearing a collar and tie. And he did exactly the same thing. He approached people, told them he'd lost his wallet, and asked if they could perhaps, give him a little money so he could get his bus fare home. Now, you're not going to be surprised to hear that people gave 4 times as much money to the young man when he was wearing a collar and tie opposed to when he was wearing a t-shirt. And it just demonstrates the psychological power that dressing well can have over other people around us. So is it any surprise that it improves our social interactions when people feel they can trust us, they're not in danger from us when we are dressed well? So from that point of view, definitely tick that box. Dressing well improves social interactions with strangers as well as people we know. Now, the final area in which I would say that dressing well has improved my life is it has definitely promoted more mindful living for me. Because as the years have gone on and I've added nicer things to my collection as I can afford them, as I've saved up for them, nice shoes, maybe nice accessories, it's definitely led to me being far more thoughtful and mindful about the origins of those products. Now, I will definitely never buy anything which comes from the other side of the planet, which has been made in a sort of sweatshop environment where people are not paid well, and ultimately the product is not of high quality. Now, I seek to know the origin story of everything that I buy. The shoes, where were they made? Who made them? And in many cases, I've actually bought many of my more expensive items from the factory shops because I try to buy within the borders of my own country, and I will try to buy cheaply, to be honest. And if I can go to a factory shop and buy something at a reduced price, it ticks a number of my boxes because yes, I'm getting it a little cheaper, and yes, I get to see exactly where these items have come from. Now, living like this and buying like this has definitely allowed me to declutter my life. Instead of having 10 cheap things in my life, I would rather have 1 or 2 high quality products that are going to last longer, look better, and I know where they've come from. And that is a very positive way to think about your sartorial outlook on life. So there we go. They were just 4 items why I think, life has improved if you dress well. And yes, when people spin us that story, if you dress well and smartly, it will improve your life. In the areas I have explored today, it definitely has. If there are areas I've missed out, let me know. Drop it into the comments section. If you would like to ask me a question, email is here. I will be delighted to hear from you. And if the question's good, I'll make it into a video and you'll see me exploring it, unfolding it in a future video. If you'd like to support the channel, you could either buy me a coffee or you could become one of my patrons. Patrons benefit from additional video content I make exclusively for them every week and a personal dialogue with me if you would wish to have it. So use sartorial appreciation to improve your quality of life, and I will see you again very soon.